Hey there, YouTube. If you stumbled across this video when you're on autoplay, I would recommend you hit pause unless you are in a situation where you're okay hearing about not safe for work stuff. I'm going to talk about foreskin restoration, what circumcision does to a man in his relationships, and a lot of other stuff that women and children may or may not want to hear. So I was circumcised as a baby, and I was given the most extensive circumcision possible. And that left me with a penis that can't really feel anything at all. Luckily, I'm able to have sex successfully um, and bring enjoyment to my partner, but I do not experience any joy from it myself. And so, what I've noticed throughout my relationship history is that I often have relationships that last a short period of time where the mental connection and the intellectual connection is very strong, but the physical connection starts out extremely strong, but then fades away and then leads to other problems. And women making comments such as, I made them feel insecure by not being able to have an orgasm from having sex with them. And the relationships that have worked for me were with people I had a lot of compatibility with, but were sort of sexually abnormal. One partner was long distance and didn't really have high demands and enjoyed my stamina, but didn't get a lot of satisfaction from the emotional connection that wasn't really there. And another one that went on for about 10 years was with somebody who didn't like to be penetrated, and therefore, we would engage in other activities. So that was a pretty good relationship that stayed strong for a very long time, physically and mentally. But in general, my relationship history is somebody's very excited by me physically, and then they feel insecure and then feel that they're not wanted and that I don't get pleasure from having sex with them, and then they get turned off, and that leads to other issues. So in dating after my divorce to the person I was with for 10 years, I realized that this problem is still very present, and that disclosing that my body works a certain way didn't really help. One relationship did end because the woman thought that I had lost attraction to her, despite my attempts to assure her that that was not the case at all. And then another one after that. Actually, I got very lucky to date someone who was highly connected in the kink community and very sex positive and very open to experimenting with other things that get us off, and was able to sort of cater to me a little bit. And at 38 years old, I had a woman finally give me an orgasm through some attempt of hers, and I felt like sort of like this magical, sparkly feeling that I had never felt from having sex with anyone else. And we got very deeply connected because the intellectual and emotional thing was there, and the sexual thing was finally there. But she did have some issues that prevented us from being long term. So through that experience, I realized that I was having sex with other people for their pleasure and not for mine, and that I would actually kind of lose interest in having sex because it was more of a way of servicing them. I didn't have an internal motivation other than to be wanted when it came to sex, because I did not experience any feeling in my penis for the most part. And so after this last relationship, I realized that I could sexually connect to somebody, but not through my penis. So I began searching on the internet for issues with low sensitivity, and I stumbled on the foreskin restoration community. And what they taught me was that when you remove a man's foreskin, he can go one of two ways. He can go hypersensitive because everything is exposed and unprotected, and he can have premature ejaculation and never last long in bed. Or he could be like me and not have any sensitivity and be able to go forever in bed, but have an extreme difficult time having orgasm. And the solution for both of these situations is to restore the foreskin and the natural anatomy. And when you're a case like me that has no sensitivity, you can get about 80% of what you should have had back through restoring the foreskin. So I have decided to start restoring using a device called a DTR, dual tension restorer, and I've been wearing it for about 3 weeks now, and I've already seen changes in myself down there. So I am actually very hopeful that this will allow me to have a full connection to a romantic partner in the future, but it's going to take an entire year. And so during this time, I'm either celibate, or I am again disclosing the fact that my body does not work the way that it should, and it will in the future if they're willing to be patient. And I'm not sure if anyone's willing to be okay with that. Overall, in seeing some changes in my body, I have gotten sort of angry at the fact that this was done to me without my consent, and has negatively affected most of my relationships that I've had. And I feel that this practice really needs to go, and we need to have a discussion about male genital mutilation in this country, because it is causing a lot of problems for men, and therefore it also causes problems for women. When you remove the foreskin, you not only remove a part of the male anatomy that increases pleasure, but you also remove the protection for the head of the penis. And so what will happen is that the penis head will become like keratinized, that will get this protective layer around it, because it will dry out since it does not have the protection of the foreskin, and that layer prevents the head of the penis from feeling very much. And so this makes men essentially sexually disabled and unable to reproduce through natural means, and that's a big problem, because your sexual partner is going to expect that you have pleasure from the same kind of pleasure that they have from having sex. So it has made a lot of men dysfunctional, and it's in general not acceptable to talk about this, even with a sexual partner. The one person that I did disclose to this up front, it was a very strange talk, and it kind of turned her off. So this is a real problem, and we really need to acknowledge that this is an issue for a lot of men and also for women. I think the practice is brutal and unnecessary in most cases, and then in the small percentage of cases where you have an infection in the foreskin, should probably be treated with something like antibiotics instead of cutting a part off the body. And then the idea that you're preventing problems down the line would extend also to maybe preventing a woman from growing breasts, because she might have breast cancer at some point in the future. That if that sounds crazy to you, then removing the foreskins, it should sound equally crazy, given that its negative effects. But I am actually quite positive the fact that I can restore this functionality and have a normal sex life using this device, and I'm going to give some updates in the future as to my progress, and of course I'll have the not safe for work warning as well for your own safety. But so far I'm actually seeing results in the early phase, and if you have problems with enjoying sex, I would absolutely recommend you do the same thing. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there and see if it sticks, and I'll keep you updated in the future. All right, bye.